All right, we're bowling things off with cricket on this edition of the SportsMax Zone. The West Indies women will return to action for the first time since their ICC T20 World Cup semi-final exit when they take on India in a three-match T20 international series beginning on Sunday in Mumbai. The Hayley Matthews-led side will be without veteran all-rounder Stephanie Taylor for both the T20s and the three one-day internationals that follow, as she will be recovering from injury, while wicketkeeper batter Rashada Williams and all-rounder Shabika Gajnabi earn recalls to the side. Windies head coach Shane Dietz says the tour is an opportunity for his team to build on the good work they've done in recent times. He says, "Since I've taken over, I've seen improvements in all areas, but we still have a long way to go. The consistency of high-level performance is what we need to keep working towards, and this is a good opportunity to play 6 matches against one of the best teams in the world." Well, we had to bring in our cricket commentator Nikhil Uttamchandani. He joins us via Zoom to look ahead to the series. Nikhil, how are you? How are you doing?
Yeah, Maria, I'm well. I'm really excited about the prospect of this series. I think, as Shane has said there, any series in India is always a big opportunity for players. We know from both the men's and women's what previous series in India have done for opportunities to sustain a living outside of just international cricket. So I think it's a really exciting time and happy that we have some West Indies cricket to watch during the Christmas period as well.
Yeah, very, very important, that the ladies get this practice as well under their belt, and they're coming up against a top opponent. How much of a miss will it be? No Stephanie Taylor, but we saw Nikhil, how she struggled at that T20 World Cup. She gave it her all, but there came a point where she just didn't have any more to give. She will be away from the setup. A big miss, huh?
Certainly. Obviously, what she brings with the bat in hand, first of all, but just her leadership qualities on field and how much of a role model she can be for younger players. But Maria, I think it's important in a series like this, which is always going to be tough traveling. I think it is a great opportunity for younger players like a Rashada Williams, who may have not had this opportunity had Stephanie Taylor been fit. Obviously, Stephanie Taylor, we hope she can give to the West Indies as much as she can, but there's going to come a time where she hangs up her boots. And who can we get in terms of young batters around the region to step up? I feel it's been a constant thing that we speak about every single tour, where who else will help Hayley Matthews? Who else will help Deandra Dottin? So that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing. Which young batter can not necessarily light the world on fire, but who can show some sort of prospect and some potential with bat in hand in a tough series against a good quality bowling lineup, that maybe we can then look to and say, this is someone to build around. I think there's some exciting names there, but we have to find that third option to support Deandra Dottin and Hayley Matthews.
Yes, so important. And, as the opening said, it's a top opposition. India, every single player on that team, top-class quality, from the captain, Harmanpreet Kaur, going right down. I mean, they also have Jemima Rodriguez. She was a star when it came to our CPL competition. Smriti Mandana, we saw what she is also capable of doing. And the list goes on, right? How much as well can our players, judge where they are at currently, Nikhil, by these matches?
A lot. I think, Maria, West Indies should feel very confident about their chances. Simply because let's not forget, they just were in the best 4 teams at the World Cup. They've made it to the semi-finals. They beat an England team that many thought were favourites to win that World Cup. And they've got to believe that they have the firepower as well to take on India. When I think about what we saw at that T20 World Cup, first of all, with the way that the bowling attack has come together now, the spin twins in Afi Fletcher and Karishma Ramarat, who took 16 wickets together at the World Cup, the new ball bowling of Chanel Henry, Zeta James and Hayley Matthews. I really enjoyed the partnership that they formed at different times with that new ball. And I think that is where India's firepower lies, in their sort of opening positions with Smriti Mandana and a lot of firepower in the power play. I'm really excited to see that. But I think when it comes to star quality, the West Indies have to believe they can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the world. And even though, yes, it's a young team and they rely heavily on Hayley, what they showed at the World Cup is others can step up. Kiana Joseph, Chanel Henry, others are ready to make that step. So this is a perfect time to show it.
Yeah, and Deandra Doughton as well at the World Cup. You know, she was just re-entering back the team. You know, everybody was not too sure what we would get from her. Of course, we saw Deandra Doughton at her best. I mean, she was really, really good. We just saw her at the just concluded the women's version, the Big Bash. She was so good in that as well, Nikhil. And now she's getting ready for this series. She has been nominated for the WPL 2025 auction. So all eyes will be focused on her. But I feel like we're seeing the best of Deandra Doughton, and there's still so much more to come from her.
I think the key thing with Deandra Doughton is her bowling. To see her bowling again, obviously she took 5 wickets in 7 overs at the World Cup, and still working her way back. But I think if we get Deandra Doughton bowling 4 overs every game, along with Chanel Henry, along with the spinners, and obviously Hayley Matthews, I think it adds a different dynamic to your bowling attack because of what she offers you in any conditions. The ability to swing the ball, the ability to take pace off the ball, and she's a wicket taker, as we've seen throughout the years. So I really hope to see her continuing to, you know, get fitter and continuing to work her way back into the team after injury and after such a long layoff. But I think her bowling is paramount to the West Indies' chances in this series.
Nikhil, Coach Shane Dietz, who is a year and a half into his contract now, said recently that although the team still has a long way to go, he reckons that they've shown improvement in all areas since he has taken over. Do you agree with him?
I definitely think with the ball in hand, the fielding still probably is a big work in progress, but the ground fielding was improving at the World Cup, Lance. And then the batting, I still do think that there can be a greater emphasis on strike rotation, a greater emphasis on scoring more runs. When we look at the other teams and the best teams, you know, no longer are they getting to 120 and 130. They're hitting the 150s, 160s, sometimes more. So I do think, look, it's never going to be easy, and it's not easy to come in and just change the entire thing. But we must credit him for the people that he's produced, like Kiana Joseph, for example, who many may not have seen be able to go up to the top of the order. Obviously, she did it at the CPL as well. But for her to score 50 against England at that time of the World Cup, I thought the individual brilliance that we've seen from other players other than Hayley Matthews and Doughton and Stephanie Taylor, I think he must be credited for that. And just the culture, they seem a lot more confident when it comes to facing the big teams. Whereas before, they could be seen as, you know, when you come up against a potential favorite at a tournament, they could be seen as the lesser. Whereas now, when I look at them, I think this is a team that potentially could win. So I think he's definitely employed a confidence within them. And from what I understand from some members of the team, it's a really nice chemistry that they've built within the group. And that's all because of him. He's made sure that they have meetings after every game, catch-ups, and spending time with each other, I think a lot more than maybe it would have been in the past. So he deserves credit in some areas, but of course, nothing is going to be done overnight. So it's going to take some time.
Yeah, Nikhil, as you alluded to earlier on, the narrative for well over a couple of years now with this team is the anxiety to see other players step up to the plate, apart from Stephanie, Deandra, and Hayley Matthews. And as you just suggested, we are beginning to see some signs of that. I like body language means a lot to me in sport. And when I see the West Indies women play now, I see players like Zayda James, who is only 20 years old. Her body language looks as if she's beginning to get comfortable. And the last time I saw her play cricket, she looked a different player, body language-wise, and her performance as well from she did even a year ago.
I think she is one that we have to build around, Lance. Just her skill set, what she offers the West Indies. Obviously, she hasn't really come into the fore with her batting as yet. But the small glimpses that I've seen, the ability to sweep the ball against spin, play both sweeps, I think that's something that we don't always get from West Indian batters. And her bowling as well, the ability to bowl in the power play like we saw at the World Cup, I think that is a great commodity to have. And I think you're spot on there. I don't know if it's Deandra Doughton coming back into the team sort of has given them more confidence and more of a lift to say that we can compete with the best. But what I saw at the World Cup was even when England made the 144, it didn't seem like, you know, there was any hesitancy walking off the field that they couldn't chase this. And England had beaten the West Indies so many times before that experience and before that match. But they just look like they backed themselves and believed in themselves. So I think you're spot on with the body language. It's definitely changed.
Yeah, I want to comment quickly too on the athleticism, because I think for a couple of years now, that has been one of the weaker aspects of the West Indies women's team. When you compare them to a team like Australia and look at the Australian roster and see the physique and the sort of athleticism present in their players, something Dietz would have to consider, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, look, the overall age of the team is a lot younger now. Getting persons like Gajnabi and Munisar and Zeta James into the team, I think we need to get those younger players exposed to this level and exposed to the senior level earlier, so that when we go to a World Cup in a couple of years' time, it is not new for them. I think what we saw at the CPL this year, where you had so many younger players being the ones to excel, was a real great step in the right direction. And we have to continue to use that to feed talent into the senior team. So the more we can have these tours away from home against the very best in the world, I think the more it exposes these younger players and gets them ready for those big moments.
Yeah, they'll play 3 T20s before they play the 3 ODIs. Nikhil, any one of these 2 formats intriguing you more? In other words, which one of the 2 series you'll be looking forward to more?
I think definitely the T20Is. They have probably a better chance in the T20Is to win, Lance. I say that because I don't think the batting is where, it needs to be in a 300-ball format. But I definitely think, given what we saw, what happened when we went there last in 2016 and we beat them 3-0 in the T20Is, I think there's a great chance. And we know what Hayley Matthews is capable of doing in a T20 game. If she can continue to expound her brilliance and you have others stepping up around her with bat in hand, I think it's definitely the West Indies could win 2 out of 3 T20Is. So I'm looking forward to that format.
Yeah, and what is it about the ODI game that you think needs improvement?
Yeah, just again, the strike rotation. I think the ability to bat for longer periods of time, to absorb more pressure and be able to put up more competitive totals. I think we've seen, flashes of brilliance. We remember when Hayley Matthews has spent a lot of time at the crease, they've looked a lot more promising as a batting unit. But when I look at the batters in that 11, I want to see, just more emphasis on occupying the crease, but finding that balance of absorbing pressure, but still having the skill to score in the middle overs. So I do think, obviously, they haven't played a lot of one-day international cricket with the World Cup being this year. So I think I'm excited to see the work that the younger batters who have been in the academy and who have been working at the regional level, to see what they can bring now with a bit more time and not the rush of that T20 format.
Yeah, and what about preparation and the readiness for the West Indies girls for this tour? Because as Mariah had mentioned earlier on, Hayley Matthews and Deandra Doughton coming fresh out of the Aussie Big Bash, so they are match sharp. But what of the team in entirety? Are you satisfied with the preparation and their build-up for this series?
Well, I was really happy about them having a 10-day camp, ahead of the series. I think we always hear about coaches say there's never enough time to actually work on specific skills with players because of how packed the schedule is. So I think just that time coming off the World Cup, where they would have spent a lot of time with each other, and then you have the same group again going to India 10 days early. They acclimatize to conditions, they get used to things, especially given that there are a lot of new faces in the team who are not very experienced in the international setup. So I was really happy to see them be able to have the opportunity to go early, and hopefully that has allowed them then to be ready. And look, I'm sure they will benefit from a few of them playing with Jamie Rodriguez at the CPL, a few of them sort of playing at the World Cup against these superstars and getting over that, massive moment and big stage. So I think all of those things will help in being ready for a big series.
Yeah, well, Nikhil, thank you so much for, discussing this with us. We're reminding our viewers that they can catch the West Indies entire white ball tour of India live on SportsMax. That's starting with Sunday's first T20 International, which bowls off at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time, 8:30 in Jamaica.